Do you ever find yourself in situations where you have a vision for your future or you've planned something and so you're expecting something to go to plan, right? But you find that you get there and you realize that the expectation or what you were hoping for when you got there doesn't quite match up to the reality that you're in. And I'm just going to share a story, as always, of something that happened to me recently. And so I was planning to come to Thailand. This was something that I was looking forward to. It was something I discussed with some of the members in my community that I met in Bali previously, because they were thinking, it wasn't set in stone, but they were thinking of coming to Thailand for the rainy season. And so I was like, okay, cool, like I'll just see you in Thailand. And as I'm approaching, because I booked it and committed, as I'm approaching it, I realized that, okay, this might not align with some of the people that I've met. And I may find myself in a situation where it's another solo trip. And so as I got here and I realized, okay, this isn't aligning to what I thought or what I hoped for or what I expected. And so I spent a few hours when I landed in Thailand. It was nighttime. I was tired from the trip, but I was feeling a little bit down and out because I guess my expectation and my hope for meeting people that I knew already had kind of fallen through and it didn't align. And in that moment, I was thinking, I was like, okay, I could either stay moping, which is silly because I've just arrived in Thailand. Like that's the most silliest thing to do, really, in my opinion, when you've landed somewhere so awesome. But how can I then reframe my current reality? And so basically in that experience, I decided, okay, let me just take my focus on what I was expecting or hoping for, except that it's not aligned with my current reality. What is my current reality right now? Because I am a firm believer that everything has its purpose and everything has a reason. And there's a reason why I am in like a hotel environment as opposed to being in a hostel environment where there's immediate community. There's a reason why I'm in this particular location and I hadn't gone back to Bali, for example, where I would have been with people I know. And so when I started looking at it, I'm like, okay, right, I'm in this hotel room. I initially booked this room so that I had a private space to film these videos, which is kind of cool. I've got this nice, much nicer background than I had previously in the room I was staying in because I was in this tiny little box room. I only had this rocking chair in the corner of my room. As much as I'd love to create lovely backgrounds, I didn't have the space for that. And actually, not everybody has fancy things or big spacious rooms when it comes to filming videos like this. So sometimes you just have to work with what you have. And so that's what I was doing. I didn't want things like backgrounds to stop me, or lighting, or even the sound quality to stop me from getting started. And I'm a firm believer of just starting where you are, what you have, and just getting started, because it's the consistency that's going to get me somewhere in the future, not fancy backgrounds, you know? And so that was one thing. So that's a major benefit. The second thing was that, okay, like community will come in time. And I still, when I was doing some research, the island that I was planning to go to still feels like in resonance. It still feels like I'm being called to go there. And so I was like, okay, cool. Like plan still stays in place, but I'll just have to meet new people and a new community out there, and that's fine. In the meantime, whilst I'm in between places, I have this time to myself. I have this time for solitude, which means that, I've got the perfect time to actually focus on my work and the things that I want to create in this life. Because whilst I was back in the UK, I was being pulled in 100 different directions between my family, my friends, my dog. Like I was literally running around like a headless chicken, helping different people with different things. And just one of the downfalls about working for yourself is that when people see you're being in control of your time, they think that it's okay for you to then drop everything that you're doing to help them with something. And so I know people that I've met on my travels that had similar situations when they were working on their businesses. And in the end, they decided to just distance themselves and travel, which meant that they were able to focus on what they wanted to create. And so I'm in that situation now where I've distanced myself and I have that time to create what it is that I want to create. And so currently I'm working on building this ultimate toolbox that helps people build mental, emotional resilience to weather any storm in life. And so similar things to what I've just spoken about, that difference between your expectations and your hopes and your reality is where suffering occurs, right? And so by building mental or emotional resilience, we can reduce suffering through our experiences, because life will always bring us experiences, some that are pleasant and some that are unpleasant. We can't stop those experiencing from happening, but how we respond to those experiences is what determines how much suffering we experience from those experiences. And so this is something that I never really had much of. I realized that in the past, I had built a lot of like mental and physical resilience, because I realized there's a difference between resilience. When some people were like, oh, you just have to be more resilient. I'm like, how can somebody who's experienced cancer, full body muscle wastes, built themselves up from like nothing to something, like get all their A's and A levels at the same time and go through one of the hardest degrees, which is biomedical engineering, and like get at the top of the class whilst building my body up after all of that experience? How can somebody like that not be resilient? Like for me, it was like, well, this person just clearly doesn't know what they're talking about, because asking someone to be more resilient who has shown a great deal of resilience, like that makes no sense to me. And it was only in time that I realized that there's different types of resilience. You can have mental physical resilience, which is clearly what I had. And you can also have mental emotional resilience. And that was my Achilles heel. When it came to really like emotionally heavy or emotionally intense experiences, I didn't have the tools to deal with that. And so I wound up in these really like spiraling holes and really struggling because I didn't have the tools to deal with that. Because growing up, I only learned how to repress my emotions or suppress my emotions. And so when I was no longer able to do that because of the intensity of the experience, and I was getting overwhelmed by all this emotion that was coming up, and I just hadn't learned how to deal with that. During teenage years, that's typically when you start learning these things, and when you have kind of emotionally, mentally regulated parents who help you do that, people who have those skills naturally. It's not something you have to think about consciously, but people who haven't been naturally taught those types of skills, it's something that we have to be conscious of. Like, it's something we have to consciously learn until it becomes a subconscious thing that we do automatically. And so over the years, I've basically gone on this like 4-year journey between my biomedical engineering degree and all of the retreats and courses and coaching and therapy and like all of this stuff. Between all of that, I calculated that about £70,000 has gone into my education and knowledge and experience and skills in this field. And so being able to create a service, which is what I want to be able to do, create a service that I wish I had access to 4 years ago. Because therapy only got me so far. I found myself just in this storytelling phase. Didn't really get me anywhere. Great for the moment and really appreciate it at the time, but it only got me so far. And so all of these skills that I've learned, I want to compile it in my own way and take the really like game-changing elements of the things that I've learned along the way and package it in a way that can take somebody from feeling really broken in life, really knocked down, really struggling in their mental emotional health, to coming out of that feeling more grounded, peaceful, more joy in their lives, whilst learning all of these great skills that you can really take with you for the rest of your life. So that's what I'm working on currently, and have some patience with that. I'm going to put some links in the description below if you want to sign up and stay informed of what's happening. And who knows, maybe you're watching this years down the line and it's already out. So yeah, back to my original point was around how your expectations don't meet your reality, but can you see how quickly you can transmute an experience of suffering or upset or disappointment or frustration because something doesn't meet your reality, noticing, okay, what is in my reality? Why am I in this space, and how can I pull the benefits from this experience to turn that into something of joy? And I'm really enjoying what I'm doing. I found a little co-working cafe nearby, so I can come out of my hotel room and work in another space and experience the wonderful place of Thailand at the same time, and the amazing food. So yeah, I thought I'd just share that with you, and stay tuned. I will see you in the next video. Thank you.